Hi, today we're going to be going through how to make a Christmas card. First off, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the supplies that we'll need, so you can gather up your supplies and then we can continue on with making the Christmas card. Now, the most important things that we're going to need, of course, is paper. You can use any sort of construction paper. They come in sheets of 8.5 by 11. I go to the craft store actually and get cardstock paper is what it's called. And the colors we'll be using today are green and blue. Now you can utilize any colors that you want. You don't have to necessarily utilize these same colors. And you can personalize it by using red and green or any sorts of colors that you want. The other things that we're going to need is some stamps. I have Stampin' Up! Stamps, so those are the ones that I use. And I'll be using a snowman, a Happy Holidays stamp, as well as a little line of snowmen for a border. Now you can, again, use any sort of stamp that you like. If you want to use a Santa Claus, if you want to use angels, whatever you like, just to make it as personal as you can. But just for the sake of me today, I'm just going to be using snowmen. The other thing, of course, that you'll need is some ink pads. I've chosen to use basic black and hunter green, but according to whatever colors paper you have, you can utilize whatever colors ink that you need. Glue sticks. We'll also be doing a little bit of embossing as some embellishment, so we'll need some embossing powder, a tray in which that powder can go in. We'll also need an embossing gun, and what this is a little heat gun that actually heats up and sets our embossing powder. We'll use a Versamark pad, which is a watermark stamp pad, and this will be utilized with our embossing powder to hold it on prior to us embossing it on. The other thing that we'll need is a little sharp pokey stick. This is kind of optional. It depends on how you want to embellish your card. I'll be utilizing this because we'll be putting brads on our card, and they're just these little jeweled things, and they come in just plain as well. And then we'll put them on the card just for a little bit of a jeweled effect. The other things that I'll be utilizing is some felt markers to color in parts of my Santa, and also some stickers. Now you can use stickers if you want to put them on your card, or you can just use a bunch of stamps, however you want to make your card original for yourself. I also have a little pair of scissors and some vellum Christmas quotes actually that I'll be using to put inside of the card. That again also is optional, and all of this stuff actually can be found at any craft store. You can find it at Michael's, the craft store, or any craft store where you live. Generally has all of this. Now the card that we're going to be working on today will be this one. Our end product will hopefully end up something like that. But you can certainly use the stuff that you buy to make many other cards. This is another example of a card that I've made as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our paper and we're going to actually cut it in half. The other thing that of course we'll need is a paper cutter to do that. Now my paper has already been cut in half, but I will guide you through cutting your own in half. So what you're going to have is a sheet that's at 8.5 by 11. So what you're going to do is take this sheet of paper, put it onto your paper cutter, and all of the paper cutters that I've seen actually have rulers on them, so you can actually measure where middle is. So with these 11-inch long papers, middle will be at 5.5 inches. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it on your paper cutter. We'll take a pencil and just mark right where middle is. Then what we're going to do is open up our cutter. We'll put our paper into the paper cutter, right with the mark right in the little groove area there. We'll put our paper cutter down. Then we're going to take the blade of the paper cutter and we're going to go all the way through and then back. And what we'll have is two separate pieces. So now what we want to do with this is the base of our card. So we're going to actually fold it in half, just being careful to get the edges right even. Then I just sort of give it a little general kind of push just to kind of get it set up. Then I'll take the end of some scissors or my finger on the cupboard and I'll just rub it along the top just to make that crease very crisp. So now what we have is the basics for our card. Now the other paper colors that we'll be using is blue. So we'll take the blue and we'll cut it in half. So we have two halves like this of 5.5, then we're going to need to utilize this piece on our card as well. So what we want to do is take this piece, measure up on our card to see how it fits. Now we're going to want to cut this in half as well. So we'll just take it, and again, it's at about 8.5 inches, so about 4.25 is where I would mark it. Then put it into your paper cutter, go ahead and cut it. And now what you should end up with is a piece similar to this. So I again would measure this piece on the front of our card to make sure that it fits, and fortunately we have a piece that fits. Now the other piece of paper that you're going to need is a little piece of white, it's a vellum type paper. You can use any white paper actually. I just like this, it's a little sparkly and it just kind of adds a little to the card. Now the measurements for this are 3 inches by 4 inches, so it's 4 inches tall and 3 inches, and you can measure that out on your cutter as well. You can make it as small as you like if you don't want to make it quite that big, or even a little bit larger, as long as it fits on the side of your card. So now we're going to move on to the stamping part. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our white piece of paper first. We're going to take our snowman stamp, open up our stamp pads, and we're going to go ahead and ink our snowman. So making sure that you have he's evenly inked throughout. Then we're going to take our stamp that's been inked. We're going to put it over top of our white piece of paper, doing our best to kind of eyeball for center. If you're a little more of a perfectionist, then perhaps you'd like to measure, but I just kind of eyeball. Then we'll put the stamp on lightly, and then I just evenly apply pressure for the whole stamp. And voila, I have a Santa. So now what I'm going to do with my Santa Claus is I'm going to take my felt markers, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to color in pieces of my Santa. So I'm going to take a red marker for the band of my Santa's hat, and for the little berry in my holly. I'm going to take green for my holly, and I'm going to use green also on my scarf, I think. So every other little piece on my scarf I'm going to do is green. Now the other color that I think that I'll use on my scarf as well, maybe red. We'll make it very Christmassy. And then last, I'm going to color my Santa's hat black. And all this does really is just adds a little bit of color to your Santa and to your card. And again, I'm just going to do his buttons black. So at the end, what I have is just a little bit of a colored Santa that's going to go on my card. So now I'm going to take the green piece of my card and I'm going to get my glue stick. I use acid-free glue. It's often used by scrapbookers. You can get that in any craft store as well. If you have kids with glue sticks, that's perfect. You can use their glue sticks. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to actually put it along the edges of my white, because I want this to stick well onto my green portion of my card. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to line it up on the left-hand side of my card as close to the top and as close to the edge as I can get it. Trying to ensure that it's even as well. So now I have a Santa on my card. Now the next piece is we're going to take the blue piece that we have cut out for the top of our card, and what we're going to do with this blue piece actually is we're going to tear it. So we want to tear it so that we get a bit of the tear effect. So if you actually tear it towards you, you'll actually be able to see the tear. Now what we want to do is we want to tear it from the top along the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to tear. And you can tear it however you like. It doesn't have to be neat. There's no particular way that we're looking to tear. I just sort of rip it apart. Now I'm going to take some glue along the edges of my blue piece as well. We're going to take this blue piece, we're going to add it to the bottom of the card. and along the right side. And we'll have a